invite up Dr. Jason Rowntree, who is the CS Mott Professor of Sustainable Agriculture at Michigan State University, where he leads research on climate-smart grazing systems and the role of beef cattle in regenerative food systems. His work focuses on practical, science-based pathways for the beef sector to achieve climate neutrality, emphasizing soil carbon sequestration, enteric methane reduction, and resilient production models. So join me in welcoming Dr. Rowntree.
Oopsie. There we go. Grazing research overview sounds really intelligent. I thought about Mittloner's methane mecca, but I opted for grazing research overview. But it's awesome to be here. Just a few slides kind of give some background on what we do. For the last 16 years, I've measured and monitored on this site in northwest Michigan, right on the 45th parallel. We run about 200 red Angus animal units at this site on about 600 grazable acres. We've done, I came across a book by Jan Bonsma called Man Must Measure. Has anybody read that book? A few of y'all. It was very influential. And Dr. Bonsma, of course, developed the Bonsmara breed in South Africa. But the thing that he did in his career is he just measured everything. He didn't put a bunch of treatments, he just measured, and he looked at things from a systems approach, and it really impacted my thinking. And so as we started this research site, I inherited a very conventionally managed farm, and we changed management. We had a lot of fertilizer going into the farm, a lot of haying. We had several cows that weighed 1,800 to 2,000 pounds. And so overnight, I got rid of the cow herd. I brought in a very grass-based set of cows out of Montana. We began adaptively grazing and working towards understanding what are the metrics. Metrics matter, and as Greg indicated, how we do it is really important. And so for the last 16 years, I've been measuring this site. That's basically going to be my cow herd in an adaptive treatment. I'm going to share a little bit about a $19 million investment that I oversee and direct, looking at the impacts of grazing on ecological management. But generally for us, and to define what adaptive grazing is, it's having cattle at a place for a given period of time to accomplish a certain purpose with a given animal behavior. And so it's about goals and how you manage. Every farm has its own unique fingerprint. And we tend to simplify things in research. We tend to reduce the complexity. But each day, the ranchers we work with are faced with that complexity. And to me, it's very important in trying to mimic that in a research setting, okay? Some things I've learned over the last 16 years at this site is through our management, we've published papers that indicate on a grass finishing model, for example, we can be 30 to 40% more efficient in the system where we are managing adaptively as compared to the literature and conventional grazing systems. We've also got multiple papers that show the YMs that we've measured in these systems generally range in the mid-4s and not 6.5. And so through a combination of management, we gain a lot in terms of productivity, which, as Sarah Place indicated earlier, has great opportunities in reducing the emission intensity of what we do. One thing we did measure, and Dr. Logan Thompson at K-State's a former student, also Sarah's, that is just smart as all get out and blessed our program for a lot of years. He took all the records we have over 7 years, and he looked at biological efficiency. He adjusted it to a BCS5, he adjusted it to age, and what he found over time is that typically the cows that weighed lighter weaned greater percentages of their body weight. A very simple biological efficiency. As cows got bigger, they weaned less of their body weight. Now, importantly, we've also had green feeds out with these cows for 2012, maybe, something like that. And what we also find is when we look at the biological efficiencies and we also look at the amount of methane that's being emitted, and we put it on a ranch basis, because we need to think about these things at a ranch basis, what I typically find is that the cows that had the least biological efficiencies have considerably greater methane on a hectare basis as compared to the cows that have greater biological efficiencies, much less methane. And think about this in terms of a theory, and this isn't about exact data. We don't have this published. We're working on it right now. But what I would like to say is there is an opportunity through genetics and management to have huge impacts on emission intensities, productivity, and importantly, profitability at the ranch level. And so lastly, I'd like to just quickly talk about a project that I oversee called Metrics Management Monitoring. Work with Colorado State, University of Wyoming. The Noble Research Institute is our largest collaborator and largest funder. And there's many other universities involved. We've got 50 PIs and 70 folks. And thank God it wasn't a climate smart grant. No offense to anybody, but seriously, it would have wrecked us, absolutely wrecked us. And so right now we're at about 19 million. We're almost close to closing another 6 to 7 million to continue this work. And so we have the Noble Research FAR, as well as some family foundations that oversee this work. And so we have 3 intensive sites throughout the United States in this project. One at my site in Michigan, one at Noble Research in Ardmore, and then one at University of Wyoming. And what we've done is we've set these simple barriers, or guidelines, I should say, on adaptive versus prescriptive. This is my adaptive group. I'm running an 80 to 90-day recovery. I'm moving cattle pretty quickly through a pasture with a lot of density to try to get more litter established. And then on the other hand, I'm putting in prescriptive group, where we put in cattle, leave them in there, they mow it down, I put them back 30 days later. Very similar to what a lot of our conventional producers do. And we've also got green feeds, and we're measuring emissions and other things in there. But the point is that we've got this all over, and we're also monitoring on 60 ranches throughout the United States: Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, Wyoming, and Michigan, where I live. And importantly, we have intensely instrumented these sites with eddy covariate flux towers, with water sensors, with lysometers. We're doing remote sensing work. We're doing applied monitoring. We're doing producer education, social science, ag economics, the list goes on. And we are really trying to take this variability and scale it into better modeling opportunities. And so really, I'm not trying to prove a grazing system. I ain't about that. What I'm about is trying to create a gradient that we can scale into better models. And so we work closely with Colorado State and others. My colleague Bruno Basso at Michigan State as well is going to be working in that space. And so just some interesting things that I've seen over 2 years of my flex towers. I've got these treatments replicated 3 times at my farm. And just in 2 years through management and what I've shown you, we're showing 4 tons difference in carbon uptake, not carbon sequestration, but net ecosystem exchange. We're showing 4 tons difference in 2 years, simply based on how we manage. 4 tons, huge opportunities, huge opportunities. And then the key, I think, in all of this is we want to be, as Dr. Tedeschi said earlier, we want to be ground up, we want to be top down, and we want to meet producers, our industry, and our supply chain in the middle. And so then the next step is, what does this look like for our supply chains, for our ranchers at a bigger scale? And so that in a nutshell is the work that we're doing, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.